The trial of Willow was supposed to determine her guilt or innocence in the shooting of Drew Kane. Instead, it became the epicenter of a coordinated attack that would shake the entire city of Port Charles and raise terrifying questions about who truly held power in the shadows. What began as a routine court proceeding descended into chaos within minutes, a descent fueled by a simple bottle of water and a poison so potent it would claim lives before anyone understood what was happening. The morning of the trial had started like any other day in the Port Charles courthouse. Judge Heron had ordered the proceedings to resume early, eager to move the case forward and reach a verdict. Willow sat at the defense table in her navy suit, her hands folded carefully in her lap, trying to project composure despite the mounting evidence against her. Her attorney, Alexis Davis, had prepared one final strategy, a bold move that would have potentially swayed the jury in Willow's favor by calling Tracy Courtroom back to the stand with new ammunition. At the prosecution table, Assistant District Attorney Justine Turner reviewed her notes with methodical precision. She had built what she believed to be an airtight case against Willow, and today she planned to hammer home the final nails. Her confidence was evident in the way she arranged her papers, in the slight curve of her lips. The courtroom was full. Spectators had filled nearly every seat in the gallery, making this trial the most watched case of the season. Michael Corinthos sat in the front row, his jaw clenched, watching his wife with a mixture of concern and uncertainty. Behind him sat members of both the Corinthos and Courtroom families, their presence a silent show of support and division. It was Jacinda Bracken who would unknowingly set the tragedy in motion. Jacinda had been sitting in the middle of the gallery, her purse beside her, waiting to be called as a witness. She had been a crucial part of the prosecution's case, her testimony designed to place Willow at the scene of the shooting. As the morning heat pressed against the courtroom, Jacinda felt the familiar dryness of her throat. She had brought a bottle of water with her, nothing unusual, nothing remarkable. It was a simple plastic bottle of purified water, exactly like thousands of others purchased from convenience stores throughout Port Charles. She unscrewed the cap and brought the bottle to her lips. No one in that courtroom could have predicted what would happen next. The water didn't taste like poison, it tasted almost normal, perhaps slightly bitter. Jacinda took a long drink, more than half the bottle, before she set it down on the bench beside her. For several long seconds, nothing happened. Then the convulsions began. Jacinda's body went rigid. Her hands gripped the edge of the bench with white-knuckled intensity as her muscles began to spasm uncontrollably. "Help!" She tried to call out, but the words came in gasps, fragmented and desperate. Her feet drummed against the courtroom floor in a violent, involuntary rhythm. "Someone call 911. A voice shouted from the gallery. Judge Heron banged her gavel frantically. "Clear the courtroom! Medical emergency!" But Jacinda's condition deteriorated with terrifying speed. The seizures became worse, more violent. Her body convulsed so severely that she fell from the bench onto the courtroom floor, thrashing against the hard marble. Foam appeared at her lips. Her eyes rolled back. Spectators screamed and scrambled toward the exits, some frozen in shock, others rushing to help. "She's having a seizure," someone yelled. Emergency responders burst through the courtroom doors within minutes, their equipment clattering as they rushed toward Jacinda's convulsing body. They worked quickly, professionally, trying to stabilize her condition. But even as they administered medications and called for an ambulance, Jacinda Bracken's body continued to fail her. By the time the ambulance arrived, her vital signs were gone. A second victim. In the confusion that followed Jacinda's death, no one paid immediate attention to the water bottle. It lay on its side on the bench, empty now, rolling slightly with each tremor from the crowd's panic. The focus was on resuscitation efforts, on the paramedics who worked frantically to bring Jacinda back, on the shocked witnesses who stumbled toward the exits. Prosecutor Justine Turner had risen from her seat at the sound of the commotion. She was still processing what had happened, still trying to understand how a simple trial day had transformed into a medical catastrophe. In the chaos, Her papers had scattered across the defense table, the very same table where Willow Kane sat, stunned and pale. "What's happening?" Willow whispered, her eyes wide. Justine quickly moved toward the bench to gather her papers, to organize them before the court reconvened. That was when she made the decision that would cost her life. She reached for a piece of paper on the floor near the evidence table, a document that had fallen during the evacuation. Her hand grazed the water bottle. She didn't realize it at first. The contact seemed innocent, insignificant. But what she didn't know was that the bottle's exterior had been saturated with a derivative of digitalis, a poison potent enough to kill through skin contact alone. The particular strain used was industrial grade, far more concentrated than nature had ever intended. Justine touched her face moments later. She rubbed her eye. The symptoms began within minutes. Her heart rate became irregular, her vision blurred. She felt dizzy, nauseous. "I don't feel well," she murmured to the judge, gripping the prosecutor's table for support. Her voice was weak, confused. "Medic!" Judge Heron called out immediately, sensing that something was terribly wrong. But by then, Justine Turner was collapsing. Her knees buckled. She fell forward, gasping for air. The poison sweat on her skin had opened every vulnerability in her body. Her heart began to fail. The second ambulance arrived to find its target already in critical condition. Justine Turner died in the courthouse, in the very building where she had built her reputation as a prosecutor. She died before the second ambulance even left the premises. Collapse and suspicion. The courtroom descended into absolute pandemonium. The judge was forced to declare a mistrial immediately. Officers sealed the building. Emergency personnel swarmed the scene, taking possession of the water bottle and beginning preliminary tests on its contents. The results came back within hours. Digitalis poison, a concentration strong enough to be considered a biological weapon. The quantity on the bottle's exterior was enough to kill multiple people. "We need to evacuate the entire courthouse," one of the forensic specialists said grimly. "And we need to secure every person who was in that gallery." The implications were immediately clear to everyone with law enforcement experience. This was not a random act. This was not a malfunctioning product. This was a deliberate, calculated attack. But who was the real target? Questions in the darkness. As investigators canvassed the courthouse and interviewed witnesses, a terrifying picture began to emerge. The water bottle had been placed on the gallery bench, the same gallery where Michael Corinthos sat. The concentration of poison was consistent with attempts to kill someone of Michael's physical stature. Michael was the target. One of the PCPD detectives whispered to their partner. Someone wanted Michael Corinthos dead. But the poison had found different victims. Jacinda Bracken, whose testimony could have convicted Willow. Justine Turner, the prosecutor building the case. Both dead. Both witnesses removed from the trial. The judge had no choice. "I am declaring this trial null and void," Judge Heron announced from her bench, her voice steady but shaken. "Given the death of a key prosecution witness and the assistant district attorney, this trial cannot continue fairly. All charges against Willow Kane are hereby dismissed with prejudice." Willow's case was over. She would never face trial for the shooting of Drew Kane. The double jeopardy clause would protect her if additional evidence ever emerged. She was, by legal definition, free. The darker implications. As investigators worked through the evidence, one name kept surfacing in the private conversations between detectives and officials: Cyrus Renaud. "We all thought he was dead," Captain Chase said grimly to Anna Devane during a briefing. "But what if he wasn't? What if he's still alive and decided to make a move against the Quartermains?" Or, Anna countered, her face troubled, what if someone is copying his methods, imitating his style of attack to throw us off? The targeting of Michael Corinthos and the Quartermain family was significant. Cyrus Renaud had a long history of violence against that family. If he had somehow survived his supposed death, a revenge attack would be entirely consistent with his pattern. But there was another possibility, one that the investigators whispered about late into the night. What if someone else entirely was using Renaud's methods as cover? What if the poison attack was meant to look like Renault's handiwork, all while someone else pulled the strings? Michael sat in his family's penthouse, shaken by the realization that someone had tried to kill him. His wife was safe. Yes, she was free of her charges. But at what cost? 2 innocent people were dead, and he didn't know why he had been targeted. He didn't know if he was still in danger. "We need to be careful," he told his family. "Whoever did this is still out there, and they haven't finished what they came to start." The Port Charles Police Department launched a full investigation, but the questions remained larger than the answers. Was Cyrus Renault alive? Was someone imitating him? And most importantly, would they strike again? The trial of Willow had transformed into something far more sinister, a crime scene that revealed a darkness deeper than anyone had anticipated. In the end, Willow walked free, but the city of Port Charles had been forever changed. A poisoning in a courthouse, to deaths, and a mystery that would consume Port Charles's best investigators for months to come. The water bottle, now kept in an evidence locker under maximum security, stood as a silent testament to an attack so perfectly executed that it had destroyed a trial, eliminated crucial witnesses, and raised questions about who truly wielded power in the shadows of Port Charles. Next, we will learn about the increasingly complicated web of relationships and dangerous conspiracies unfolding at Windermere, where Lucas Jones finds himself blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around him. Lucas's new life at Windermere. Lucas Jones has been experiencing what can only be described as a romantic renaissance since moving into the Gothic grandeur of Windermere. The historic Casa Dini estate, with its dramatic turrets and mysterious corridors, has become an unexpected haven for Lucas and his boyfriend Marco Rios. Night after night, the couple can be found curled up together in the estate's lavish living quarters, sharing intimate moments that Lucas believes represent the beginning of a beautiful future together. The chemistry between them is undeniable, and Lucas has never felt more content in a relationship. He's finally found someone who seems to understand him, support him, and make him laugh after everything he's been through with his family drama and professional challenges at General Hospital. But beneath this picture-perfect romance lies a dangerous deception that threatens to shatter everything Lucas holds dear. What our beloved doctor doesn't realize is that Marco isn't just a charming boyfriend with a mysterious past. He's an active participant in a sinister plot orchestrated by his powerful father, Jen Sidwell. The scheme, nothing less than the complete takedown of Port Charles's most formidable mob boss, Sonny Corinthos. Marco has been feeding information to his father, attending secret meetings, and playing a crucial role in establishing the groundwork for Sidwell's territorial expansion into Sonny's domain. Every tender moment Lucas shares with Marco is shadowed by lies and manipulation that could have deadly consequences for multiple people Lucas cares about. The Carly factor and family fractures. The relationship between Lucas and his sister Carly Spencer has deteriorated to an unprecedented low point. Once inseparable siblings who would move heaven and earth for each other, they now find themselves on opposite sides of a painful divide. Carly's inability to accept or support Lucas's relationship with Marco has created a chasm that seems to widen with each passing day. Her warnings about Marco have fallen on deaf ears, with Lucas interpreting her concerns as yet another example of Carly trying to control his life rather than genuine worry for his well-being. The irony is heartbreaking. Carly, who has stood by so many questionable men in her own life, cannot find it in herself to give Lucas the benefit of the doubt about his choice of partner. This fracture in their relationship raises a fascinating and troubling question. Would Lucas even care if Sonny Corinthos disappeared from Port Charles permanently? Given his current estrangement from Carly and the complicated history between the Spencer Jones clan and Sonny's organization, Lucas might view Sonny's downfall with indifference or even quiet satisfaction. However, what Lucas cannot reconcile is the thought of Marco being involved in violence or criminal activity. Despite his complicated feelings about Sonny, Lucas remains fundamentally opposed to the mob lifestyle and everything it represents. The very thing that's driving him away from Carly, her connection to Sonny's world, is exactly what Marco is secretly immersed in. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. And when the truth inevitably comes to light, Lucas will have to confront the devastating reality that he's been sleeping with someone far more dangerous than he ever imagined. Ava Jerome's strategic support. Enter Ava Jerome, the glamorous and calculating art gallery owner who has positioned herself as Lucas's unexpected champion during this difficult period. Where Carly failed to provide emotional support, Ava has stepped in with open arms and a sympathetic ear. She's been the friend Lucas desperately needed, offering validation, encouragement, and a non-judgmental space where he can express his feelings about Marco and his frustrations with Carly. They've spent countless hours together at Windermere, binge-watching their favorite shows, sharing bottles of expensive wine, and engaging in the kind of intimate girl talk that Lucas hasn't experienced since his closest friendships dissolved under the weight of family drama. Ava has made Lucas feel seen, heard, and valued in ways that his own family hasn't managed recently. But viewers who have followed Ava's history know that her generosity rarely comes without strings attached. Ava Jerome is a master manipulator who always plays the long game, and her sudden devotion to Lucas's happiness should raise red flags for anyone paying attention. The truth is that Ava has her own significant stake in Sidwell's operation and stands to gain enormously if his plan to eliminate Sonny succeeds. She's not just tangentially connected to Sidwell, she's actively cultivating a relationship with him, positioning herself as an invaluable ally in his quest to dominate Port Charles's criminal underworld. Every kind word she speaks to Lucas, every supportive gesture she makes, is shadowed by her own selfish motivations and dangerous ambitions. The explosive confrontation between Ava and Lucy. Last week's fireworks between Ava Jerome and Lucy Coe provided viewers with one of the most deliciously tense scenes in recent memory. The confrontation erupted when Lucy walked into a restaurant to find Sidwell practically eating out of Ava's perfectly manicured hand, hanging on her every word like a lovesick puppy. The fury on Lucy's face was palpable as she watched Ava work her seductive magic on the dangerous crime lord. What followed was a masterclass in passive-aggressive warfare, with both women marking their territory through carefully chosen words dripping with venom disguised as civility. Lucy's frustration was justified. She had been working her own angles with Sidwell, using her considerable charms to try and gain influence with the powerful newcomer to Port Charles. The subtext of that scene was crystal clear to everyone watching. This is war, and both women are prepared to fight dirty for Sidwell's favor and the power that comes with it. Ava's petite frame and elegant demeanor belie a ruthlessness that has helped her survive decades in Port Charles's treacherous social and criminal landscape. Lucy, despite her bubbly exterior and cosmetic saleswoman persona, has her own history of scheming and manipulation. The clash between these two formidable women promises to escalate in spectacular fashion, with collateral damage likely to affect everyone in their orbit, including the unsuspecting Lucas. Sidwell's romantic preferences revealed. The latest intelligence from behind the scenes confirms what many viewers already suspected. Jen Sidwell has developed genuine romantic interest in Ava Jerome rather than Lucy Coe. This revelation will undoubtedly stroke Ava's considerable ego and reinforce her belief that she can manipulate powerful men to serve her purposes. Sidwell is drawn to Ava's sophisticated allure, her intimate knowledge of Port Charles's power structures, and her proven ability to navigate the criminal underworld without losing her polished exterior. He sees in her a potential partner both romantically and professionally who can help him achieve his goals while providing the kind of companionship he craves. But this development raises serious concerns about Ava's judgment. Throughout her history in Port Charles, Ava has repeatedly allowed herself to be blinded by powerful men who ultimately brought her nothing but pain and disaster. From her toxic relationship with Sonny to her various other disastrous romantic entanglements, Ava has demonstrated a consistent pattern of prioritizing power and wealth over safety and genuine connection. Will Sidwell be any different? Or is Ava walking straight into another catastrophic situation? Her track record suggests she's incapable of learning from past mistakes when an attractive, powerful man offers her the lifestyle she believes she deserves. Ava's ultimate prize, full custody of Avery. Perhaps the most significant factor driving Ava's involvement with Sidwell is the potential custody implications for her daughter Avery Corinthos. If Sidwell successfully eliminates or neutralizes Sonny as a threat, Ava would find herself in an unprecedented position of power regarding Avery's custody arrangement. Currently, she shares custody with Sonny under terms that have never fully satisfied her desire for complete control over her daughter's life. With Sonny out of the picture, whether through imprisonment, death, or forced exile from Port Charles, Ava could petition the courts for sole custody, arguing that Avery deserves stability away from the violence and chaos that surrounds the Corinthos organization. This potential outcome provides Ava with enormous motivation to facilitate Sidwell's plans, even if it means betraying people who consider her a friend or ally. Ava has always been willing to do whatever it takes to maintain her position as Avery's mother, and the prospect of sole custody represents the ultimate victory in her ongoing battle with Sonny over their daughter's future. The fact that she's simultaneously playing supportive confidant to Lucas while secretly working with the man whose organization is targeting Sonny through Lucas's own boyfriend demonstrates just how ruthlessly compartmentalized Ava's thinking has become. The fragile peace between Ava and Sonny. Current circumstances have created a temporary détente between Ava and Sonny, with both maintaining a cordial, if not exactly warm relationship, centered around their shared love for Avery. They've achieved a functional co-parenting dynamic that allows them to attend school events, handle medical decisions, and coordinate schedules without descending into the bitter warfare that has characterized so much of their history together. To the casual observer, they might even appear to have achieved genuine friendship after years of toxicity and mutual destruction. But longtime viewers know this peaceful period is merely the calm before an inevitable storm. Ava and Sonny have never managed to maintain friendly relations for extended periods. Their history is littered with cycles of cooperation that inevitably collapse under the weight of betrayal, resentment, and competing agendas. The fundamental incompatibility between them, rooted in Sonny's need for control and Ava's refusal to be controlled, ensures that any truce is temporary at best. It's only a matter of time before circumstances drive them back into open conflict, and Sidwell's arrival in Port Charles has already begun creating the conditions for that inevitable explosion. Ava's downgraded lifestyle and vulnerability. The apartment Ava currently inhabits represents a significant downgrade from the luxurious accommodations she's enjoyed throughout most of her time in Port Charles. Gone are the penthouses with stunning views and the spacious rooms filled with expensive furnishings and original artwork. Instead, she's making do in quarters that, while comfortable by normal standards, feel cramped and insufficient to someone accustomed to the finer things in life. This change in circumstances has left Ava feeling vulnerable and desperate to reclaim the status and comfort she believes she deserves. This vulnerability makes her an ideal target for someone like Sidwell, who understands that people like Ava can be bought with the promise of restored glory. He has the resources to shower her with expensive gifts, provide her with upscale accommodations, and reestablish her place among Port Charles's elite. For Ava, who has always measured her worth in material terms and social standing, Sidwell represents a lifeline back to relevance and luxury. She would absolutely forsake Sonny and anyone else who stood in her way for the right combination of money, status, and power that Sidwell can provide. Lucas's dangerous double standard. This brings us to the heart of Lucas's current predicament and the glaring inconsistency in his thinking about the people in his life. For months now, Lucas has been living in close quarters with Ava, sharing confidences, supporting each other through difficult times, and building what he perceives as a genuine friendship. When Carly expressed concerns about Marco, Lucas dismissed her worries and accused her of being unsupportive and controlling. He chose to believe in Marco's innocence and resented his sister's inability to simply be happy for him. Yet Lucas appears completely blind to Ava's own involvement with Sidwell and the dangerous game she's playing. He hasn't questioned why Ava is so interested in this powerful newcomer or what she might hope to gain from cultivating a relationship with him. The double standard is striking. It's unacceptable for Marco to work with his father, but apparently perfectly fine for Ava to cozy up to the same man without losing any of Lucas's respect or trust. This cognitive dissonance suggests that Lucas is either willfully blind to uncomfortable truths or so desperate for emotional support that he's willing to overlook warning signs he would normally recognize. The reality is that Lucas is surrounded by people with hidden agendas and dangerous connections, and his refusal to see the warning signs will likely lead to devastating consequences. When the truth about Marco's involvement in Sidwell's plot against Sonny finally emerges, and it will emerge, because secrets in Port Charles never stay buried for long, Lucas will be forced to confront not just his boyfriend's betrayal, but also the uncomfortable reality that his trusted confidant, Ava, was complicit all along. The emotional fallout promises to be catastrophic, potentially damaging Lucas's ability to trust anyone ever again and destroying the fragile new life he's built for himself at Windermere.